Hey, what's going on, Full Heel Podcast? I am your host, Donkeytron. Let me take off my crooked ass glasses. And today I am bringing you episode 84 of the Full Heel Podcast. Thanks a lot for joining me. I don't know if I said that already, but there you go. If you guys can't tell by now, it's fall. It's October. So that means I get to talk about my favorite pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc. I did a bunch of Halloween Havocs last year. I think I did Halloween Havoc 96, 97, 98. I did a bunch of them last year. I didn't get to that many this year, but I'm doing one today. So today I'm going to be doing Halloween Havoc 94. This was a pretty badass pay-per-view. I'm going to get right into it. I definitely recommend going back and checking it out. It started off with Booker T with Stevie Ray, his brother, tag team partner, Harlem Heat, taking on Brian Armstrong. This was an opening match. It wasn't live on air. I think Brian Armstrong is Road Dogg, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's the Road Dogg. So he faced the Road Dogg before the Road Dogg was, well, what he was in WWF. But I thought I'd just mention it. I didn't get to see the match. If this was a non-aired match. But the first match that was on the pay-per-view was Johnny B. Bad versus the Honky Tonk Man for the television title match, or for the television title in a time limit match. It was a time limit match. And Johnny B. Bad, for those of you guys that don't know Johnny B. Bad, that was his gimmick in WCW. It's Mark Marrow. Came out with Sable, was married to Sable. Sable divorced him, went on to have a better career than Mark Marrow in the WWF. And Mark Marrow kind of tanked off after that. Didn't really become anything. Maybe Intercontinental Champion. Never really made it past this this level in the card. Got the television title, Intercontinental title. I don't know if he won any tag titles, but I don't know. He came out with like he was shooting out shirts or confetti. Yeah, it wasn't shirts. It was a shirt shooter, but he was shooting out confetti. And I think money as well. It looked like dollar bills. I'm not sure. But, yeah, like a Johnny B. Bad song. And then we had the Honky Tonk Man. This pay-per-view reminded me a lot like of an old school WWF pay-per-view, just because they had a lot of the same gimmicks that the WWF had used. The WCW was recycling due to notoriety in order to get fans over. So you can't blame them. And it worked. Honky Tonk Man is known still for being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. There's been more, like Chris Jericho's held it more. I think he's held it the most. Forget who else comes into mind. The Miz has held it a bunch as well. But Honky Tonk Man held it for over 500 and something days. I'm not exactly sure how long. But he's got the longest run with it. So WCW would, of course, use the Honky Tonk Man gimmick. This match, though, went to a draw. No one won. So Johnny B. Bad retained his WCW World Television title. Yeah, and that was a pretty good match to open up the night. Classic heel Honky Tonk Man, classic babyface Johnny B. Bad. This is how it was done back in the day. You had your classic good guy versus your classic bad guy. Your classic good guy putting on some good high spots, maybe some top rope offense, which Johnny B. Bad had some. Against the Honky Tonk Man that was always getting out of the ring whenever he got hit by something, using the cheap shots. Honky Tonk Man, I think, was always a heel. I'm not sure if he was ever face. I know he was popular, but as a heel. The next match after that was a tag team match for the WCW Tag Team Championships. It was pretty wonderful. Paul Orndorff versus and Paul Roma versus Stars and Stripes, which was the Patriot and Jeff Bagwell, later known as Buff Bagwell. This is a super young Buff Bagwell, or Jeff Bagwell as he was known here. No, it wasn't Jeff Bagwell. It was Marcus Alexander. Marcus Alexander Bagwell. I thought it was Jeff Bagwell. Nope. So Marcus Alexander, he had no, or Bagwell had no beard. Looked like a super young Buff Bagwell. Later on, if you guys remember, he had the penciled in fucking, well, it wasn't really penciled, but it was a super thin goatee. He wasn't as cut up as he was later on. And then the Patriot, I'm not sure who the Patriot was. It was a gimmick that was recycled by the WWF, WCW, and it was just, I don't know if it was the same guy that played it over and over again. I know Hogan put on the Patriot mask at one point. And, yeah, so it was a recycled gimmick. But, pretty wonderful. Take the tag team titles. Classic heel tag team. Paul Orndorff is known for, I think, betrayed. Was it Hulk Hogan back in the day? I want to say it was Hulk Hogan back in the day that he betrayed and turned heel on. And it's Mr. Wonderful for those of you guys that don't know. And yeah, it was a good match. Orndorff is known for being a fantastic worker. Paul Roma, I don't know too much of his work, but very good worker as well. Buff Bagwell, he had a lengthy career. I wouldn't say he's the best of workers. I know he got kicked out of the WWE or forced out to some extent just because of backstage politics and stuff like that. But, you know, shit happens. And, yeah, pretty wonderful. Take the WCW titles. And then the next match after that was Dave Sullivan versus Kevin Sullivan. For those of you guys that don't know, Kevin Sullivan is the guy that was in the Dungeon of Doom. He's the one that had all those guys working for him. He had that weird makeup, the weird eyebrow, like that curled up. He had Earthquake in the stable. I think he presented the Yeti at one point. He was well known for bringing in the Giant into his stable. I think a year after this is when the Giant would be introduced into the WCW's roster. When they had that horrible, oh my god, that dog shit match. It's still worth watching just because it was so horrible. They had a monster truck match. Yeah, it was The Rock, or not The Rock. It was Hogan and the Big Show. Later on, I think they have a match where Hogan gets thrown off of the roof. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, go check that out. Halloween Havoc 95. But yeah, that's Kevin Sullivan. He had a crazy ass stable versus his brother Dave Sullivan, which had a shit gimmick here too. Horrible fucking gimmick. Probably Hogan's gimmick, to be honest, just to fucking feed his own ego. They had Dave Sullivan be the Hulkamaniac. He had a horrible song where it was kids singing "I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac." I'm pretty sure you guys can find that song on YouTube. Dave Sullivan winds up beating Kevin Sullivan. I forget exactly how, but I remember he beats him. The Hulkamaniac winds up beating his brother. And, yeah, Dave Sullivan was dressed as Hogan. It was a weird situation. Okay, now I remember why. Now I remember how. Dave Sullivan was getting his ass beat the whole match by Kevin Sullivan. And at one point, they went to the outside. He's beating him on the outside. And Dave makes his way onto the inside. Kevin's not paying attention to the outcome or to the referee. And he gets counted out and gets told that match is over. Yeah, weird match. Dustin Rhodes defeats Arn Anderson in a singles match. Pretty awesome match. We had Dustin Rhodes, your classic babyface, before he went to the WWF and became Goldust. I've always said it. I don't know if it's true. I don't know. It's my theory that the WWE's always had it in for the Rhodes family. Starting with Dusty, leading into his dad, and then eventually with his other son, Cody. Sorry, I couldn't come up with his name. I always thought he had it in for them because they were always given pretty shitty gimmicks. And hold up one second. Okay, sorry about that. I have horrible vision, and I don't have my glasses on. So, yeah, so I always thought he had it out for the Rhodes family. Giving Dustin Rhodes the badass American dream. He gave him the gimmick of the polka dots. And it was just horrible. It was pretty bad. I don't know why he did that, having such a fan favorite, such a talented worker on his hands, and it was just really weird. And then Dustin Rhodes, if you guys go back and watch this match, you guys will see what an incredible worker he is. The dude didn't have a gimmick and didn't really need a gimmick. He was just Dustin Rhodes, the son of the American Dream, the prodigy, because his dad was a plumber turned wrestler, turned world champion, so he was the prodigy of a plumber. And that was Dustin Rhodes' gimmick. So I guess I lied when I said he didn't need a gimmick, because that's what his gimmick was. Whatever he was, Dustin Rhodes. Just came out with boots. I think he had like an eagle on his back. So the story behind this was Arn Anderson was supposed to kind of like mentor Dustin Rhodes. He tagged with him. And during the tag match, Arn Anderson attacked them. I forget who they were tagging against. It couldn't have been the Four Horsemen, because that would have been too predictable. But yeah, he attacked them. He attacked them during the tag team match that they had together, where Dustin recruited him and kind of had him as the older guy, the enforcer that Arn Anderson always was, but helping him out. And yeah, Dustin Rhodes gets the win over Arn Anderson, and a pretty good match, 10-minute match. Definitely go check it out. Old school Dustin Rhodes before he was given the Goldust gimmick, which he's done wonders with it. He's made it his own, and I'm not trying to shit on it. It's a good gimmick, but it's a gimmick that was never going to get him, and I've said it before, it was never going to get him past a mid-card kind of level / tag team champion sort of level, and they kind of did it to Cody. Cody became Intercontinental Champion, was definitely becoming a fan favorite more and more as time went on and as he was able to develop his character. And then they gave him the Stardust gimmick, and he did good with it too, but I think ultimately he wanted more, and that's why he is where he is now, in a way better place. And some could say at the top, yeah, definitely one of the top guys in the indie scene. Definitely one of the top guys. Yeah, so he defeats him in a singles match. And then the next match was Jim Duggan. I guess they couldn't use the gimmick Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So if you guys remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the guy that came out with the 2x4, he's taking on Steve Austin in a singles match for the United States Championship. This was stunning Steve Austin, if you guys can't remember, when he had hair. He's always been a very good wrestler. You can tell how injury affected Austin, and he had to later develop a different style of wrestling due to the neck injuries, due to mobility. He's a lot more mobile back in the day, of course. You know, not only because of youth, but because of injuries. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan, being the name, takes out Steve Austin and retains the United States Heavyweight Championship. Hacksaw Jim Duggan being an American hero. All the Americans love him. I think he always comes out with the flag too. But yeah. Takes on young ass Austin. The match after that, we had Vader. If you guys don't remember Vader, R.I.P. recently passed away. He's the guy with the mask. Come out. It was Vader time. Do the belly drop from the top, or like where he was facing the crowd, and then he would belly slam them. Yeah, that was Vader. versus the Guardian Angel. So the Guardian Angel, for those of you guys that don't know, that was his gimmick in the WCW. The Big Boss Man. This is the Big Boss Man taking on Big Bad Vader in a singles match. At this time, Vader was very successful, and they were pushing him very well as a dominant force. It's when he got to the WWE where they kind of misused him due to backstage politics that people talk about with Shawn Michaels. They say Shawn Michaels had a lot to do with not allowing Vader to get the push that he deserved, but, you know, I don't know. And due to the fact that he came in super overweight off of an injury when he got signed by the WWE coming from the WCW. So when he was released from the WCW, or he didn't re-sign or something because he was going to the WWF at the time, he was injured during the off-season or during his off-season or during the off-contract time. And then when he was due to come back to the WWE, either due to laziness or due to him being still not being able to get into shape because of the injury, he came in out of shape. And he either didn't get a push because of that, or he came in really fat. He either didn't get the push because of that, or he yeah, it's one of those two. Or because of the whole Shawn Michaels thing that I mentioned right now. Awesome match. If you guys want to check out good Vader matches, go check out WCW before the NWO era when Vader was there. He was definitely getting a push. Very popular guy there at the time. The co-main event was the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags, versus Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck. It was a tag team match. No titles on the line. I don't know why they wouldn't have the title. Well, because the Nasty Boys are more popular, and so is Terry Funk. But, yeah, you had the Nasty Boys defeating Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck. I forgot how they cheated to win, but that's how they definitely won. And then in the main event, we had Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart. He's Hulk Hogan's champion, taking on Ric Flair. And he had Sensational Sherry in his corner. And yeah, sorry. Awesome match. We have classic Hogan before he turned into the NWO Hogan, before he turned into Hollywood Hogan. This is when he first moved over. Still yellow and red. And then you had classic heel Ric Flair before he got super old. And I think this was his 14th or 15th title attempt. Ric Flair, he would go on to win 16, as they like to note. This was in a steel cage match, retirement match. Whoever lost had to retire. It was super heated between both of them leading up into this because Hogan had someone attacking him and attacking his leg, and that was the story of the match. Hogan going in with a fucked up leg. He was attacked by a masked figure. At one point, he almost got the mask off of him and was attacked by two more dudes. And yeah, it was a crazy storyline put together by WCW before the whole NWO. 2 years before the whole NWO thing came into fruition. It was an awesome match. Like I said, there was a build up into it. There was a little bit of a story because Mr. T was going to be the special guest referee. Mr. T was seen leaving a restaurant with Ric Flair, kind of hinting at the fact that Mr. T was going to side with side with Ric Flair and give him the victory and end Hogan's career. So, you know, Oh, also as well. Sorry, Bobby the Brain Heenan was amazing on commentary. Uh, some of the best commentary ever. I don't know if it's because it was all. I think it's because he was off script. I don't know if he had people feeding him lines. I don't think they did like they do nowadays. I think ever since Vince took over, he started feeding people lines, and he kind of keeps it tight to what they say. But yeah. This got kind of crazy towards the end. It was a classic Hogan beating up on Flair. Flair using his heel tactics to get back over on Hogan. It was a 20-minute match. At the end, we had Sherry trying to climb. Was it? At one point, Sherry wound up giving or trying to give Flair the belt. Sting came out. Did the mask guy? I forgot if the mask guy jumped in and interfered. Sorry, guys. I watched this a couple of days ago. But, so eventually, Hogan lands the leg drop on Ric Flair, gets the 3 count, and he's attacked by that masked man that I had mentioned earlier. No one had known who it was for months leading up until this, or for like a month. He had been being attacked, and now at the end of his victory, he's being attacked again. Finally, he gets his hands on him in the cage, pulls off the mask, and it turns out it's Brother Brutai. If you guys don't remember him, it's Brutus Beefcake from the Barber, Brutus the Barber from WWF. That was his old gimmick. Now he's in the WCW. And him and Hogan were big friends. That's why he's in the storyline. And it winds up that Brother Brutai turns on Hogan. And I forget exactly what the storyline leads into with them two, because this was a career-ending match for Ric Flair. Is a gimmick, you know, that's what they called it as. And yeah, so awesome match, awesome pay-per-view. If you guys want to have nostalgic memories of WCW / WWF, because this is what it was them recycling a lot of gimmicks before the NWO was called into fruition, before the Attitude Era was out and about. This is that era right here. This is what you had. The guys leaving WWF and trying to make WCW strong, or trying to get paid, either or. But that's what you had going into this. And I really enjoyed the pay-per-view. I'd definitely go ahead and check it out. And which leads us into our next match, or our next subject. I'm going to talk about Evolution, this Sunday's pay-per-view. All-female pay-per-view, first ever for the WWE, not wrestling. I think Impact, if I'm not mistaken, had the first one for female wrestling. And yeah, so WWE has their first one, and it's kind of not funny, but it's kind of noteworthy to mention that the pay-per-view I just talked about, WCW Halloween Havoc, the only females that were on the show were managers, or the manager, the sensational Sherry. So for them to have an all female pay-per-view is pretty awesome. And it was a great pay-per-view. Not that it surprised me or anything. I've really enjoyed the women's wrestling, the whole Evolution thing they've been doing, but they have some very talented wrestlers right now at the time, and very good looking too, which doesn't hurt at all the product. Yeah, so I'll get into it right now, I guess. Evolution was opened up by Izzy Hale and Nita Strauss. I don't know who they were. Who's a pretty good guitarist. I'm not sure who the guitarist is, but I think that guitarist plays for Black Sabbath. No, I don't think it's Black Sabbath. Sorry. But she's a very, very talented guitarist that a lot of top level metal bands use her for her talents. They're called Hired Guns. If you guys haven't seen that one on Netflix, I'd definitely go check it out. I think that was her. They're Hired Guns, and she's a very talented guitarist. She opened up Evolution with a nice musical performance. Pretty awesome. But starting off the night was Trish Stratus and Lita versus Mickey James, and Alicia Fox. What's her name? Alexa Bliss had to find a replacement. Alicia Fox was a replacement. She was injured. I don't know exactly what the injury was. I haven't kept up with that. But she was injured, couldn't make it, so she introduced Alicia Fox as a replacement. We had Old School Trish and Old School Lita. Kind of bringing us back to olden times not even olden times, not too long ago, but when they were around, and just them showcasing all their moves. Mickey James and Alicia Fox were not going to get the victory. They were there to get squashed. Maybe with Alexa Bliss, they would have pulled it off at the end with some kind of heel thing, but Trish Stratus and Lita defeat Mickey James and Alicia Fox. Yeah, I was more of a fan of Trish Stratus than Lita back in the day. Due to looks, they're both very talented in the ring, and Lita does have the better of the styles, I guess I would assume. But, yeah, good match. Not the best match on the card. But, yeah. So then after that, we had the Battle Royal. I don't know exactly how many. I think it was a 20-women Battle Royal. Where they all start off in the ring, so they all got announced, and then the Battle Royal started. It was a pretty good Battle Royal. I would say average Battle Royal. Could have been a lot better, especially how they ended it. It had a dance break in between, which was kind of funny, so that was kind of cool. But Nia Jax winds up winning, and so nothing against Nia Jax, and I'm not trying to talk shit about her, but if you're not going to push her right, why let her win this? What does she win? Does she get an opportunity to win the title after this? Does she get a number one contendership? What's going on here? So, I don't know if this was just a win to win or whatever, but a lot of people wanted Ember Moon to win. She was one of the last ones. I think Zelina Vega eliminated her, almost eliminated Nia Jax over the top rope because she was outside the whole time. At the last minute, jumped in, almost won it, but Nia Jax comes out victorious. I think she threw out small ass Zelina outside. Yeah. Like I said, pretty average Battle Royal, especially with how they ended it with Nia Jax taking it. It was nothing crazy, nothing that the crowd wanted. And especially, like I said, if they're not going to push Nia Jax, why are you making her win all these Battle Royals and stuff? They gave her the title and then took it off of her right away and gave it back to Bliss. So, I don't know. The match after that, we had the finale of the Mae Young Classic for 2018. I missed this 2018 Classic. Unfortunately, I missed it. I've been really busy watching UFC, trying to make more podcasts, hanging out with my buddies, and helping them with their podcast / music stuff. I know it's excuses. I should find more time to do this, but I missed the Mae Young Classic. But I got to catch the finale. Toni Storm, I'm familiar with her from last year's Mae Young Classic. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely go check that out. And then I should check out 2018. Over here talking shit. Fucking asshole me. But she takes on Io. I think it's Io Shirai. Sorry, I can't pronounce her name. I didn't watch her enough. Definitely worth watching. It's a little glimpse into maybe New Japan / indie style wrestling. It's just a little bit different than WWE. There's a lot more build to it. It's a lot slow to build. Not slow, but like it starts off slow and there's a build to it. WWE seems to want to be high spot, and do a lot of top rope stuff. Not really build up their matches like this one showed it should. Toni Storm did not win it last year. I think she made it to the semifinals and got eliminated. I forgot exactly by who. Maybe by Kairi Sane, if I'm not mistaken. But these two girls put on a phenomenal match with Toni Storm hitting her finisher, Io kicking out, and then she hit her finisher. What the fuck was it? I think it was the top rope move. Yeah, I think it was a moonsault of sorts. And Toni Storm lifted her knees, caught her with that, hit her again with her finisher. And fuck, I don't know what she calls it. Something Storm. The Storm Driver? I don't know. But yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so Toni Storm picks up the victory, wins the Mae Young Classic for 2018. Well deserved. She's a super fan favorite on the indie scene. Held a lot of titles on the indie scene. I think Stars, I think it's an all-women promotion, but she's held different titles at different organizations. I think she's on NXT Europe right now, and she just won the Mae Young Classic, so we'll see where she goes. We'll see if she gets a main roster push. She got shot over to regular NXT. I don't know how that's going to go, but WWE just putting out content. Next match, we had Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya taking on the Riot Squad. This one was kind of a squashed match. I don't know. There was no real build to it, no real rivalry to it, and some botches throughout the match. So, that being said, they did put on a good match. They did have a good match. These girls are all good workers. Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya being like kind of the head of the locker room, working with the Hart family. Is a Hart. And then the Riot Squad. You can see the development of Liv Morgan week by week. She's getting better. I watched her since NXT, so I've seen her get better. Ruby Riott. She's looking very, very good, especially coming off of her injury not too long ago. And the one that's kind of getting left behind and just there is See, I can't even Sarah Logan. I couldn't even think of her name. But Sarah Logan's just there. I think they do a lot better individually. I think Sarah Logan would have a better voice for herself if she split from the Riot Squad. But maybe this is helping her out. Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, so Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya win. They beat the Riot Squad. The match after that, we had Shayna Baszler taking on Kairi Sane for the NXT Women's Championship. Kairi Sane won it back at I think it was Brooklyn. I think that was the last one. Brooklyn 4 or something like that. Forgot exactly what. Kairi Sane being the super baby face. Shayna Baszler super heel. Super brutal heel that just wants to injure her opponents. Kairi Sane, the Pirate Princess. Very gimmicked up. She's a pirate princess. The title's in the treasure chest. It's all good, fine, and dandy. All like the old school WWE classic face versus heel. But it works out very well here. And then Kairi Sane can't even speak English, but she kind of doesn't have to. Her gimmick alone and her wrestling style really speaks for itself and tells a story within itself. So these girls put on a fantastic match and they parallel each other very well. Good versus bad, yin versus yang, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it. I thought Kairi Sane was going to win, but she got fucked over. We had the introduction of the 4 Horsewomen into the WWE universe. They pull Kairi Sane's hair. I think, what was her name? The tall one. Jessamine Duke pulls her hair. And then as Kairi Sane, she escapes the choke that Baszler applies on her by attempting a pin, how she first won it while being held in that choke. So Shayna Baszler releases the choke. Kairi Sane gets the edge, goes for her super badass elbow off the top rope. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. It's one of a kind. She makes it her own. The elbow off the top rope, but Roderick Strong's wife, I forget her name, interferes and distracts Kairi Sane, allowing Shayna Baszler to get her off the top ropes. Kairi Sane almost recovers again with a roll-up, but gets pushed to the ropes where she's kicked in the head by Jessamyn Dukes, allowing Shayna Baszler to lock in the submission. Getting the victory over Kairi Sane, winning back her NXT Women's Championship, ending Sane's run. I don't think any of them could get called up anytime soon. Not that they don't deserve it or they wouldn't be worthy of it or anything. I just think they need the women right now, and I think this rivalry is playing out kind of well. With Kairi Sane winning the Mae Young Classic, Shayna Baszler winning the title, Kairi Sane taking it away, Baszler taking it back away. They have something there. So, awesome match. Shayna Baszler, super brutal. Almost looks like she breaks Kairi Sane's arm at one point. So, I definitely go check out this match from Evolution. Let's see. Next match we had Becky Lynch taking on Charlotte Flair for the last woman standing match. Awesome match between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Not too many mess ups or botches, I would say. More Becky being a little frantic and maybe I would say excited of being in an Evolution match and kind of a co-main event. Or maybe that was just her because she was kind of being relentless as well. So that could have been part of it. But the only thing that kind of went wrong for them was there was a table spot where Charlotte went for the moonsault and did hit Becky, but they hit at the edge and they just fell off and the table didn't break. So what I loved is that they went back for it. They didn't abandon that. They went back for it, and this time she did Swanton onto Becky Lynch, breaking the table. Earlier in the match, they were throwing in chairs and chairs and chairs. So chairs came into play later on. Becky hit Charlotte a couple times in the back pretty hard. It looked like they should have rehearsed those chair shots a little bit better, but you know, whatever. Maybe they were just doing it there for the first time or something. Well, not for the first time, but you know, maybe they didn't rehearse it a bunch. But the final spot was Becky Lynch powerbombing Charlotte Flair through the table on the outside. And Charlotte Flair couldn't get up for the 10 count. So that's how she loses. That's how Becky Lynch retains. But at one point, Charlotte Flair locks in the figure 8 with the ladder, kind of like making it look like it hurt more. Not really, but you know, whatever. But there was no submission, so that didn't count at all. We had Becky Lynch tapping. That didn't matter at all. No submissions, so Becky Lynch eventually gets the victory, retains her title, and the crowd cheers. She's definitely a heel, but the crowd loves it. They want her to win. They want her to be champion, even if it means that she's going to be heel. And her trolling online is hilarious if you guys haven't seen it, so I'd go check that out. And then the last match of the night was Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella in it was a good match. I want to say I'm impressed by it, but you know, Ronda Rousey's Ronda Rousey, and she's flourishing here very well in WWE. Her mic skills are getting better, and maybe it's just because she was with Nikki Bella, and Nikki Bella was taking a lot of slams, a lot of squashes by Ronda. So that could have been part of it, but Ronda's getting better week by week, so I'm very impressed. I definitely give it a thumbs up. And it was an awesome pay-per-view. All women's pay-per-view, Evolution. I wonder if they do this every year. But yeah, great pay-per-view. We had a lot of old legends come through from what do you call it? The Attitude Era for the women. All right, and that was the WWE part of today. I'm going to get into the UFC. This weekend was UFC Fight Night. Volkan Ozdemir versus Anthony Smith. And, yeah. I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't know if you guys missed it or not, but it was a pretty good fight. Sorry. So, yeah. I thought Ozdemir was going to win. I picked Ozdemir. I've never really given credit to Smith. I thought at 185 when he lost to, I think it was Thiago Santos. I thought it was not a weight issue. I thought it was a skill issue. Apparently, it is a weight issue. Apparently, it's not a skill issue. Volkan Ozdemir got to where he is by knocking dudes out because he didn't have to use any other of his skill set. He was able to land perfectly and put people out. He hit Anthony Smith a lot. I would say it was back and forth, but Anthony Smith having a very high fight IQ and knowing what to do and coming in with a game plan. He knew that Ozdemir was going to knock him out if they were going to just stand and bang the whole time, which is what Anthony Smith likes doing. So he knew he had to come in and use his takedowns and use his wrestling in order to stop Volkan Ozdemir. They were both cracking each other very hard. And like I said, Anthony Smith is like, fuck this. He started off trying to go in for the takedown right away. Eventually he did get a takedown, I believe. But Ozdemir wound up controlling, I want to say, if I remember right. I think he had more control in the first round than Anthony Smith on the floor, and he landed more shots as well. But Anthony Smith wasn't out of it whatsoever. Like I said, he came with a game plan, and he was trying to implement it. Again, round two, I think it was Ozdemir on top a lot of the fight. Anthony Smith just trying to land some counter shot from Ozdemir landing. And then, what was it? What was it, round three? Round three, he caught him with a shot and dropped him. And he came in with Ozdemir came in, and I think he shot in, tried to get a takedown, and this guy caught him. This guy stumbled, and Anthony Smith started landing some hammer fists. Could have been in the back of the head. Not that it really did anything. They were kind of just glazing. He caught him, and then eventually took the back and started working in a submission. He really didn't have the positioning at first, and kind of was sneaking it in, or trying to sneak in the arm under the chin. Eventually switched arms. Ozdemir, I guess, lifted his chin a little bit, and Smith sunk in the choke. Like I said, I thought Ozdemir was going to win. I've never given Anthony Smith a chance. I thought he had beaten two aged veterans that were on their way out of the game. I didn't think he was going to win. Big props to Anthony Smith. Super impressive. But there's no one left. It's either he gets the number one contender or he gets the champion. So we'll see what happens after that, because right before this, DC came out with a promo stating that he was going to come back to light heavyweight. He said, "Screw what they're saying about John Jones. He said screw DC and Gustafson, and he said, hey, whatever about these two guys. Whatever's gonna go on is gonna go on. I'm going to come back and I'm going to defend my light heavyweight championship." I don't know if that means he's going to come back and defend it against the winner of this one, or if he was going to come back and face whoever the intern was, because it has to be an interim championship now for John Jones and Gustafson, now that DC said he's going to come back and defend it. So they can't take it away from him. Yeah, so Volkan Ozdemir gets choked out by Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith moves on to, like I said, either the #1 contender or the championship fight. And yeah, I don't know what's next for him, but we'll see. We will see. Let's see what's next. All right. So the match, the co-main event of the night was Artem Lobov versus Michael Johnson in a late replacement. So Artem Lobov's opponent got replaced because he was in, I can't pronounce his name. It was one of Khabib's teammates that was involved in the brawl. He hit Conor McGregor, so he's suspended. Artem Lobov stayed on the card. He had nothing to do with anything, so he got to pick a late replacement. Michael Johnson stepped up, but Michael Johnson just outskilled, outworked, outstruck Artem Lobov. Artem Lobov is a tough dude, but he was pretty much a standing punching bag for Michael Johnson. The first round was kind of a little bit back and forth. Artem Lobov landing some heavy shots, but Michael Johnson, I think he edged him out in the first round. That was the only close round. Second round, Michael Johnson started stepping away with it more. I think he figured out Artem's patterns, how he was throwing his punches and not protecting himself at the same time. And then the third round, we had Michael Johnson coming, making the gap even bigger. Artem Lobov is a tough dude, but he can't. It's a tough situation for him because he gets tough opponents. I would like to have seen him against the opponent that he had matched up against. Michael Johnson's a tough guy, and he's got a good fighter IQ, and it was definitely present here, outstriking Artem Lobov and getting a unanimous decision in my book. And then in the third, not the third one, but whatever. The fight before that, we had Misha Serkinov versus Patrick Cummins. I don't remember who I picked. I think I might have picked Pat just because I like him more. He got totally dominated by Misha Serkinov. Defeated in the first round, submission in the first round. Yeah, I really had high hopes for Pat, but he just hasn't seemed to be able to put it together whatsoever. And he's up and down, man. He's always had tough opponents and tough matches, but I don't know. Round 1 submission is bad. Misha Serkinov is back on the submission train, back with another victory, and I think he's one submission away from most submissions in light heavyweight history, right behind John Jones. So, yeah, that's that. Let's see. The fight before that, we had Sukumentat beating the crap out of Jonathan Martinez. He kind of just beat him for 3 rounds. Sukumentat being the more experienced fighter. Like I said, I don't remember if Jonathan Martinez was brought up short notice or because someone got injured to face Sukumentat. Sukumentat outstruck him 98-88. Significant strike 79-71. 3 takedowns to 1. It looks a lot closer on the numbers, but I thought Sukumentat took it a lot more decisively. Vellante versus Ed Herman. This is a hard fight to pick. They went back and forth, and it looked very, very even. I much rather give it a draw than give it to anybody, but they give it to Jean Vellante. Ed Herman was pissed. I guess Ed Herman forgot the first round and only wants to remember what he was winning. It's tough. It's tough because he definitely, if you go by the numbers, Ed Herman definitely wins the second round. First round, I don't know. He gets edged out in the first round if you go by the numbers, and then he gets edged out in the third round. And it's tough if you watch the fight, you have to go off the numbers because it was straight up them just going back and forth, hitting each other in the face, and just kicking and punching each other all day. No takedown attempts, no submission attempts. No one got any knockdowns. Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know who I would give it to. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because if you look at the total, and you don't go by total, you go round by round, Ed Herman outstruck Gian Vellante, but Gian Vellante, or Ed Herman had a good, very good, decisive second round. First and third are kind of very, very close. The whole fight was close, but Ed Herman was very, very pissed about the loss. Court McGee takes on Alex Garcia, takes out Alex Garcia in a dominant victory. Just dominated him all aspects, stand up, ground, on the floor, ground and pound, everything. Court McGee just did what he wanted to do. Alex Garcia looked horrible. He looked horrible. Talib Nordin taking on Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland defeating Talib very decisively. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. He just beat the shit out of him. He outsized Nordin, which was kind of rare. Nordin seems to be the bigger fighter at all times. There was really no takedowns or anything. Yeah, Sean Strickland just picking up the victory over Nordin Taleb. Let's see. Goody versus Hasseret. Hasseret totally outworked Goody, not only in the significant strikes, but in the total strikes. Totally dominated the fight. If you guys don't know who Nazarat is, he trains at TriStar, I believe. He's from Germany, but he looks like Gastelum, like a skinny, in-shape Gastelum. Check him out. He's picking up some victories. Theobald Goody picks up a loss. Sucks for him, but he's facing a very tough guy. Cater gets the TKO victory over Chris Fishgold. Fishgold was, I think, a double champion in Cage Warriors. I don't know. He had a very, very impressive resume coming in as well. Not in opponents, but like in the ways he was finishing and getting finishes, and the way he fights. Cater seemed to kind of be weathering the storm at first, not really doing anything too much at first, and then pouring it on and getting the victory over Chris Fishgold. I'd like to see Fishgold against someone else, not as experienced as Kelvin Cater. Cater bounces back from a loss, I think, to Moicano, but Moicano, like I said, I think I mentioned it before, maybe not on here, but maybe with Jeff. Moicano's a badass, and that's no one to be ashamed to lose to. But Cater bounces back against very game Chris Fishgold, pushed the pace, was definitely game to fight, and that's always good to see. So yeah. And then we had Sarah Morris versus Talita Bernardo. Sarah Morris couldn't get any of her game going, any of her wrestling, any of her jiu-jitsu, especially against Bernardo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu girl. She could control her, outstruck her, got the takedowns. This isn't the most exciting of matches, so. T. Edwards versus Don Madge. I don't know which one's coming off the Contender Series. I think Edwards might have. But they're both new to the UFC. Impressive victory by Don Madge. I wonder if you guys can hear the rain. This is the first time it's been raining while I record, but yeah. So Don Madge picks up the victory. Super impressive. Got 2 knockdowns. Outstruck the shit out of T. Edwards. And, yeah. Keep an eye out for Madge. Maybe it was just the opponent, but we'll see. We'll see. Arjun Bowler versus Marcelo Golm. Arjun Bowler recovers from a loss. He went in having a horrible loss in his last fight. Kind of giving it up because of takedowns, and forward pressure, not really defending the submission. Got caught. This time Marcelo Golm just got out-pressured, outworked by Arjun. You could see how fatigued they both were. Arjun just pushing against the cage and just throwing shots and managed to get the win. Stevie Ray takes on Jason Araye. I think Stevie Ray lost this fight. The numbers tell a different story. I thought Jason did enough to win. I thought Stevie Ray was very hesitant. Well, I guess I wouldn't say hesitant, but more on his back foot the whole time. I thought Araye was pressure forward, landing the more significant shots than Stevie Ray. I think Stevie Ray was landing more leg kicks. Not that they don't count, but I thought just Araye was landing the more significant shots. I thought the judges were off on this one. I scored it for Araye, but Stevie Ray comes out victorious, so yeah. That was UFC Fight Night, Ozdemir versus Smith. This weekend is UFC UFC 230? Yeah, UFC 230. Daniel Cormier versus Derek Lewis. Champion versus number 2. I'm going to have these guys over for a fight companion, so tune in for that Saturday. I'll have a couple of guys over. We'll go live stream the play-by-play. We'll give you our scorecards and shit like that. So Cormier Lewis, Weidman Souza is going to be a good match. Branch Cannonier. Branch having a late replacement of Cannonier because Souza got moved up because Luke Rockhold got injured. So Cannonier steps in for the moved up Souza. Souza steps in for the injured Luke Rockhold. The match before that, we have Robertson versus Martian. I don't know too much about those guys, but we'll see. They're on the main card. And then they're ahead of Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson, which is going to be an interesting fight for the division. Israel Adesanya bringing an incredible skill set of kickboxing versus Derek Brunson, an incredible skill of MMA, mixed martial arts altogether. We're going to see if Israel Adesanya has been able to piece it more by more, week by week, month by month, opponent after opponent. He's 14-0, undefeated, style bender. Stay tuned, guys. It's going to be awesome. Then we had Jason Knight versus Jordan Rinaldi. It's going to be, I don't know who Jason Rinaldi is too much, but I've seen Jason Knight fight sometimes. Sajara Eubanks versus Roxanne Matafari. Julio Arce versus Shayman Moraes. Lehman Good versus Ben Saunders. Let's see. Sorry. And let's see what else is left. Frevola versus Venata. Ooh, Lando Venata. Yeah, versus undefeated, the Steamroller. Matt Frevola, the Steamroller. All right, I guess. Shane Burgos versus the debuting Kurt Holobag. It's coming off of the Contender Series, so we'll see. I've seen Shane Burgos fight a couple times. Brian Boom Kelleher versus Montel Jackson versus Montel Quick Jackson. I think Quick Jackson is off of the Contender Series as well. And then opening up the night is going to be Adam Warzarek versus Marcus Rogero de Lima. All right, that's going to be interesting. So thanks a lot for joining me, guys. This was episode 84, sorry. Please hit that subscribe button, leave comments, rate and review. Really helps out the show. Check it out on Saturday, going live for UFC 230. So check me out for that. And yeah, I will see you guys. I'll see you guys next time on the Full Heel Podcast. Cocksuckers.